You've expressed disapproval at Twitter's decision to ban Milo Yiannopoulos'
Yes.
account. Keeping this in mind, do you believe that Simon & Schuster made the correct decision in canceling Yiannopoulos' book deal over his most recent scandal? And do you believe that a company should prioritize their shareholders in making a decision to protect their profits, or should they risk their business endeavors to promote free speech for people like Yiannopoulos?
Okay, so I don't think that publishers have an obligation to print everybody's book. As somebody who's submitted many book proposals over many years, I don't think the publishers have an obligation to promote anybody's book if they feel they're going to lose money on it. As far as Twitter claims to be, its own sort of claim is that it's sort of a free speech haven, and so it seems to define its central principles wrongly by banning people. And then so, you know, and let me say for the record that as anybody who has watched me for the past year knows, I am no fan of Milo's. I have not been a fan of Milo's. I find Milo appalling, and I have for well over a year. I've stayed silent on this latest stuff because, honestly, you don't kick a guy while he's down. But the fact is that Milo, what's happened with Milo actually says less about Milo than it does about the conservative movement that I find troubling, right? I think that, just to give you a few examples of stuff that Milo's done over the past year, in a few weeks ago, he suggested to a Muslim girl in an audience that she shouldn't be wearing a hijab in America. As a guy who wears a funny hat every day of the week, I think that's awful, right? Milo's somebody who said that he called a Jewish journalist from BuzzFeed a thick as, what was it? It was a typical example of a sort of thick as pig shit media Jew. Right? Milo, on the day of my child's birth, sent me a meme of a black baby suggesting my kid was half black because I'm a cuck, because I'm not sufficiently supportive of Donald Trump. He's talked about how the alt-right is this wondrous milieu of intellectual decency and honesty, full of brilliant people, while openly acknowledging that the alt-right actually says that Western civilization and ethnicity are inherently connected. Right? He did all of this before all this stuff came down. So my only disappointment on all of this stuff is that, you know, I think that conservatives should have said this is all bad stuff a long time ago. I don't think that it should have taken tape of Yiannopoulos saying that 30-year-olds having sex with 13-year-olds is great in order for people to say this was not great stuff. So if the only standard on the right is, we'll accept anyone who pisses off the left, our only standard is you can't say that it's good for 30-year-olds to have sex with 13-year-olds, I think we can have a little bit higher standard.
Yes, all right. I'm happy to take some questions. Are you going to go around if I pick people? Is that all right? Thank you. You keep jumping up. I feel like you need to get something out of yourself. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm grateful. I'm just teasing.
So earlier today, I watched an interview with Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro, and he had mentioned.
I'm sorry. Did you run out of sleeping tablets?
I was waiting. Kind of boring, but one thing Ben said some actually pretty good things about you, but Dave said something that you're going on in February, and that he was going to bring up a discussion about maybe another scheduled or the first debate between you and Ben, if that were ever going to happen.
Well, I've repeatedly said I'm happy to do it, but Ben keeps fibbing about it. You know, I'm a lot busier than he is, and sometimes I don't respond to his emails within 3 days. I'm sorry. I mean, he's not high on my list of priorities. He used to be famous. He isn't anymore. You know, I prefer to debate people who, like, you know, when you're sort of your star is ascending very quickly, as mine is. You're advised to be interviewed by people who are bigger than you, not smaller than you, which is why Ben sort of fell off my list of priorities. And I continue to hold out that offer to him if he wants to take it, but he started fibbing on his radio show saying I was a coward because I didn't respond to him for a week. Well, get over yourself, you know. You used to be hot shit, used to be the big thing. You aren't anymore. People are going to take a while to reply to you. I'm very happy to debate him, although I'm not sure he'll want to now that his access and influence has evaporated because Trump won. He didn't imagine for a second that Donald Trump would win, and now he has. You know, Ben's fucked for 8 years. Well, he deserves to be. He deserves to be, frankly, because he treated his own audience with disdain and contempt, and lost all of. I mean, he used to be the cool conservative, you know, like he used to be the guy that had fans under 50, unlike any of the rest of them. And then he fucked it all up with Trump. I mean, it's not my fault. But I'm very happy to debate him anytime.
That's political incorrectness. It is not political incorrectness to shout cuck at people. Right? You're not actually changing anything. I'm sorry, just shouting cuck at people doesn't make the world a better place. It just means that you're an asshole. Yeah. So the idea that you know, my big problem with this is that there's a whole generation of young people who are falling into the trap of thinking they're principled by saying stupid things, and not just saying stupid things, right? Because cuck is just a silly thing, but people who are using the N-word in chat rooms because they think, oh, I'm violating some sort of societal taboo, and that makes me cool. Yeah, well, that's not going to be so cool when it turns out your employer can search you, and now you can't get a job. Right? It's not going to be so cool when you fall into this trap of associating with all these folks, and it turns out that's on your Facebook page. Right? It's all fun and games until you actually have to live in the real society where the left is willing to go after people. Now, I don't think the left should go after people for this sort of stuff because I would prefer to live in a society where we can all say whatever we want, but I don't think that you saying these things promotes that because I don't think it's important that we have a society where you say the N-word. I think it is important that you have a society where you can point out that we're not disproportionately sending black people to prison. We're sending black people to prison in precisely the proportions they're committing crimes. I think that's more important than you shouting cuck or the N-word. Right? And this is my big problem with, as you know, I have this long-running debate now with Milo Yiannopoulos. This is my big problem with Milo and his entire movement, is I think that Milo is not conservative. I don't think he knows anything about conservatism. I don't think he cares about the Constitution. He says this openly. I think that Milo cares about being a provocateur. And I'm sorry, a provocateur generation is only valuable in standing for things that are worthwhile. It is not, being a provocateur just for the sake of being a provocateur is worthless. Provoke in the name of something real and decent, and then I'll stand with you. Provoke in the name of just being a provocateur because you're violating taboos and you're a waste of my time.
Let me ask you, because it's not only the left that's got some Trump derangement syndrome going, it's also Glenn Beck and Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro, who used to work at Breitbart. What, Trump derangement syndrome? I'm Dr. Steve. I'll give you every symptom they have.
No, I think, you could go around American public life diagnosing this on all ends of the political spectrum.
Yeah. But listen to this. Glenn Beck and Ben Shapiro, they're saying now because Trump's in the White House, they're afraid. Shapiro's hiring security. He's got a rifle. They say Trump has an enemies list. I mean, I don't know what they're talking about.
I mean, look, this is like the last gasp, desperate attempt to get attention from people who made a big, big bet. Shapiro and Glenn Beck both made a huge bet on the last election. They went in so hard against Trump that there's no way out for them now. And they have been cast into the political and media wilderness. You'll notice that, Ben Shapiro's only function in the media these days is to poop on Breitbart. But what he doesn't realize is it's not a good look. It's like somebody talking smack about their ex-wife, or somebody whinging about their former employers. Everyone's got beef with their former employers. People just don't take you that seriously. Journalists will use you for copy when they have an agenda themselves.
Debating Milo, I haven't heard anything about that lately. So the answer is no, I won't be debating Milo. The reason I won't be debating Milo is because he's a coward. And the reason he's a coward is because 3 weeks ago, first of all, somebody, I think it was Dave Rubin plus Steven Crowder, they both offered to host a debate between me and Milo on the alt-right and Donald Trump. And Milo went totally silent. And then he blamed Breitbart News for telling him not to do it. A couple weeks later, he then said, fine, I'm willing to do it now. And he emailed me, and he emailed Dave Rubin, and he emailed all the people involved, and he said, let's set this up. And within an hour, I had my assistant email back times, right? And he said within the next couple of weeks. No response. Nothing. Right? He says, I'll get back to you. No response. For a week. For 2 weeks. For 3 weeks, right? And then I email him again, last week and a half ago, and I said, okay, well, I'm holding these dates open, and I'm not going to keep holding dates open, so are we doing this or not? No response. No response because he's chicken. Because he's chicken poop. Because he is a coward. He's a coward, he's an intellectual coward. It's very easy to go on campus and fight against Trigglypuff social justice warriors with an IQ of 7. It's really not difficult. And it's also really not difficult to lie to college students about what is good and true because they haven't studied the issues. It's also not difficult to gain attention by doing silly stunts. And they're fun. I watch them. They're fun. But when you do those things and you then spoon feed on top of it alt-right white nationalism and pander to some of the worst people on earth and encourage college students to do the same, it's really terrible. I don't have to reiterate my criticisms of Milo here. Suffice this to say, he's intellectually shallow. The offer's off the table. I don't waste my time holding dates open for my intellectual inferiors who are too cowardly to debate me, to initiate conversations, then blame me for backing out of the debate that they back out of because they have no stones.
I'll think quick. I don't want to dwell on it, but so many people ask. So for the record, with you sitting here right now, I will fully say what I've said many times on Twitter, which is that Milo had the original idea of doing it. He sent an email to our team, said, let's do this debate. Me and Ben, Dave will moderate. You immediately responded, yes, you gave dates. And then Milo basically dipped out. That says the truth as much as I know it. If you know more,
that's exactly right. And so, that's exactly right. And so, and then went around the country proclaiming that I had chickened out and trying to derive this rivalry with me that I could not care less about. Like Milo, I wish nothing but success to Milo based on the good things he does. I hope nothing but failure for him for bad things that he does, just like anybody else.
That's quite a wish.
And I'm not going to play Lucy in the football with him. I mean, he ducked out, he chickened out, and I mean, look, the fact is that even the fact I was willing to do it in the first place after he was tweeting pictures of me of a black baby on the day that my son was born because I'm a cuck, it was a bit generous, but. Now that I'm not gonna play that game. That's not my game.
And the thing is, I genuinely like both of you, and I think we could have done something really good. Milo's coming back in February. I think my guess is that the ground is a little too scorched.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
But yeah,
okay. Again, I'm not interested in doing the Charlie Brown Lucy routine so that he can go around the country proclaiming that he's brave after having chickened out.
Yeah,
so.
And for the record, when he comes in February, I'll
sure
say the exact same thing to him, and he can say what.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
It'll be very sophisticated and British.
I'm looking forward to having a chat with somebody interesting and fun who I admire. I think he's smart. I think he's has a great intellect. To work out time that works for our schedules. We're both very busy. I'm busier, obviously, because I'm much more successful. Sorry that he's going to be so totally and utterly humiliated by a faggot in debate, but what can you do?
No, I'm gonna. You want to what? No, I haven't asked me about this Texas Tech. This is a very, look, this is a very weird situation that happened, right? I didn't reply to an email for 2 weeks because I'm busy and I was doing stuff like this. No, whatever, I'm not bullshitting it. I'm not bullshitting it. I think my inbox has about 30,000 unread emails at the moment. I didn't reply for 2 weeks, as I very often don't. And then I hear that Ben has published a video saying I'm a chicken and I won't debate him, which I never said. We hadn't fixed a date yet. I wonder whether it's because did he decide he didn't want to do it in the end or whatever, but the invitation is open. Bring it, Ben. An end to pointless. Well, maybe I'll bring Ben and Dave Rubin, and maybe we'll start.
I was writing wildly anti-Trump pieces, and I had freedom to do so for literally months before I left.
Okay. So, changing gears here, is it true that you are 5'9"?
Last time I checked, I mean, and my hands are normal size, gang.
Okay, yeah, good hands. Well, Ted Cruz is
the very best hands. I have a very good writing. It's very good words. My hands, they're great. They're bigly great.
Awesome. Ted Cruz is 5'8", and Milo says that when you stand next to him, you're actually shorter. So
I don't remember if I was shorter than Ted Cruz when I stood next to him because I don't measure my size next to other men like Milo does.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And I'm not tall and nearly as dashing as him, of course, and I don't have the nice British.
Well, who is? I mean, without the British accent, by the way, Milo is basically just another ill-informed libertarian.
All right,
Milo.
He's definitely going to see this stuff.
I know.
I mean, look at the quality that you have on the right. I mean, we joke about Ben, but Ben is one of the sharpest minds in media in this country. He's an incredibly fucking smart guy. Really fucked it up with Trump, and now his career's gone. But he's a very smart man.